Hi, I'm Rich Embling, Urban Tinker on Instagram and Facebook. And today I'll be doing a demonstration on carving a friendly Frankenstein head. And I'd like to welcome you to the International Association of Woodcarvers.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. We want to welcome you all in today on the International Association of Woodcarvers. Today is Saturday, September the 30th. Last meeting of September, and we appreciate you all joining us today, this Saturday afternoon. Want to thank everybody who came out to the CCA Carving the Rockies show out in Colorado Springs, Colorado. We had a great time out there. A bunch of people that I saw coming in the meeting just now, we saw out there. So thanks for everybody for showing up. Hopefully those of you who weren't able to make it out there was able to tune in to our live stream. That video is out there on YouTube now. So if you missed all of it, make sure you go out and check out the YouTube video. And if you get the chance, go ahead and start making plans now to be out there next year in September. It was a great time, a couple of days full of carving, great friends. I told somebody over the weekend that it's more like a family reunion than it is a carving show. It's just that you get to see your family and also pick up all your carving tools and buy some carvings from friends and get wood and do all the fun things that you like to do at carving shows. So make sure you make plans to come out there next year. I think it's around the same time, that third week in September, and we'll be announcing the dates as soon as we know those. I want to congratulate Bruce Ankeny. Bruce, you're on here today. Congratulations for making it into the CCA. I can't think of a better person than you to go in with. And so I just want to say congratulations to you again, brother, for that. It's definitely a high honor, and yeah, it's very well deserved. So congratulations to you, and thanks.
We're also going to congratulate Blake, because Blake also was inducted to the CCA, guys. So Bruce and Blake were put in there at the same time. So don't let don't let it get away, because we didn't get it. We announced it last week, but it didn't come through fully in the video. So give Blake congratulations whenever you see him too.
Thanks, Dave. Want to tell you all a little bit about some of the stuff that's coming up. Don't forget that in October, Dave Stetson, who's on today, is going to be doing another Santa carving class or workshop. If you're interested in that, go ahead and reach out to Dave. You'll be able to get signed up, get the materials that you need. Sometimes he does a rough out and a cutout. Other times he just does a rough out. So you may want to reach out to him if you want to sign up for that. That starts October 21st. So you have a little bit of time, but not much. So if you're interested in that, reach out to Dave Stetson and get signed up. It's a great class. I think he's working on beards and stuff this time. So he'll be able to give you all the information. Make sure you reach out to Dave. November the 3rd, or about that time, Janet Cordell is also going to be starting a workshop on wood carving a dancer. If you're interested in that, make sure you contact Janet Cordell, get signed up. And I know our friend Del Green started a class today on carving witch hazel. I hope some of you are taking advantage of that class. I think it's a couple of weekend class. So Del probably doing some other classes. If you missed this one, then stay tuned here and we'll let you know when the next one's going to be. Don't forget that Dwayne Gosnell does Whittle Wednesdays. If you're interested in signing up for that, go to Dwayne's website. I think it's dgosnellwoodcarvings.com. You can sign up for those Whittle Wednesday classes. It's twice a month on Wednesday nights, and it's a lot of good information there. Don't forget about Chris Hammock. He does the barfly classes. I'm not sure when he's starting those back up, but he'll be doing some of those. So if you're interested in taking a class from Chris, reach out to him. He can let you know all the things that are coming up. Next weekend, we'll be having next Saturday, we'll be having Tom Wilkinson on the 17th. I'll be live at the Sevierville show on October the 14th. I'm sorry, Tom Wilkinson's October the 7th. I'll be at the Sevierville show October the 14th. Chucky Ducky Shook is going to be on the 21st. And Badger State Blades is going to be in on October 28th. Mid-South Woodcarving Show in Alabama is going to be November the 4th. And then some of you know Timmy Youssef. He's over in England. He's going to be presenting for us on December the 2nd. So that's some of the things that we have coming up. Today in the meeting, having said all that, we're going to be doing a live auction in the meeting. If hopefully some of you all saw the advertisement on that. We're going to be doing a Dwayne Gosnell autographed Helvey Signature Series knife with an 1 3/4 blade. It is here. And then also, in addition to this, Rich Embling is going to also be including one of his carvings that he is doing the demonstration on today as part of that auction. So you're actually going to get both things. You're going to get Rich's carving, which he'll send out to you from the United Kingdom, from Wales, and I'll send out the Dwayne Gosnell autographed Helvey signature knife. And I just want to thank Helvey again. Over here's their sign. They've always been a big sponsor to us. If you're looking for a good wood carving knife, reach out to Rich and Holly, or catch them maybe at the Renegade that's coming up in September down in Nashville, or some of the other shows, and they'll be able to hook you up with a knife. So having said all that, we're happy to have Rich Embling on today, coming to us from Wales, United Kingdom. This meeting is truly international, and we say that every time, but we have people all over the world that join us, or all over the world that watches our videos. Rich is one of those special people that's been on with us. This will be his third time, I think. He's also joined us other times for the meetings, and he's a wood carver. He's a teacher. He has articles in Wood Carving Illustrated. I know he's working on some other things that he'll be telling you about. But Rich, we're happy to have you in today. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you because I know you got a lot of carving to do. If you'll go ahead and unmute there, we'll spotlight you and get you started here.
Okay. Great. Well, hello everyone. Thanks for joining me today on the demo that I'm going to do with you. Like Blake said, this is the third time I've been on here with you guys. The last couple of times I've done things to do with puppet making, but this time, as my kind of hobby and what I do has kind of changed and evolved over the past couple of years, I've realized that as much as I love making wooden puppets, I really love carving faces, as most of us probably do, because just the expression and the freedom to kind of play around with, make someone happy just from making a little face or so on. So that's how this project's evolved, really. Plus, I absolutely love Halloween. So any excuse for me to make anything to do with Halloween, whether it's monsters or witches or whatever, you know, I'll find time for it throughout the year. So that's how we came across with the project that I'm doing with you guys today. So if I change my camera and I show you guys how this project came about. I should jump over to a different camera. How are we looking there? Okay, so I love carving faces. So what I decided to do originally was I did some Santa faces. We all love making Santas. And from making the Santa faces, I started making brooches, adding a pin on the back. And basically my wife loves them, so I make loads of them throughout the year for different seasons and so on. So from this, I thought, well, I'm just going to start making more and more faces. So I evolved into doing other things. And then last year, I made this guy. And I did an online Zoom class where I think a few of you who may be on here did the online class. And it was carving a zombie magnet or monster magnet. But basically the same. I loved just working with material to make faces that are simple and flat on the back, a bit like the triangular Santas people make. And then this was another one I did, and this is what I did recently for one of the competitions online for the blade cover contest with Woodcarving Illustrated. So this actually has Doug Linker's leather idea that he did a tutorial on, and I turned that into a little knife slip or a little cover. This is another one I did. And whilst doing all these faces, another one here, when trying to think of different subjects to run a demo with for today, I practiced and ended up reverting back away from most of these and back to something like this because of time scale. And also the fact that, you know, if you slightly smaller, that you can put a pin badge in, you can give it to someone as a gift and they can enjoy wearing it and or pass it on through the family and so on. And I wanted it smaller but more manageable to do within a small amount of time. So something like this took a lot longer to make. So something like this was easier to make. So I thought, I know, I'll do one of these in this style. And henceforth, we ended up with this guy. And then this is why the project began. So I started playing around with more and more of these kind of carvings and these kind of flat, as you can still see the faces, but they're very flat. And then basically decided, right, I'm going to go for this and just practice doing a load more. So I ended up with another one that looks like this. And I changed the clip around from the top of the head to the top of the head there to the front of the head, because I wanted to take some essence of my more kind of realistic version of it, but with less time, just to simplify it. Plus, I really like the more cartoony versions of the faces at the moment. So I've done another one here, which I was working on over the last couple of hours, which is not finished. And he has some little bolts that I've made to go into the side of the head. So basically, it's all the same pattern that I put out online for you guys. But the difference being is that this pattern's flipped. So it's facing the opposite way to this guy, but it's carved in the same approach. So at the end of the meeting, as Blake mentioned, in the auction for the Helvey knife, I'll be adding this guy to the auction, and I will put a little pin, brooch pin in the back, similar to, was the Santa head, excuse me, similar to this. So I'll put a brooch pin or a metal pin bar in the back of it, and then that'll be added to the bid. Okay, so I think we should crack on. Okay, so everyone knows this is the pattern. I put it out on social media. So this is the pattern. And the reason that this pattern came about was I had a fair abundance of 1 inch thick basswood stock. And I was finding that as I had that material, I wanted to try and challenge myself making as much things out of these 1 inch boards. So I ended up cutting out some shapes. So from this, I cut it out of my blank, and I ended up with this. And then once I got this, I then started carving on it until I ended up with this, and then the paint and so on. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is tell you guys about what tools I'm using today, which might be useful. So there's the blank. Like I said, this blank is 3 1/4 inches wide. It's 4 inches tall, and it's 1 inch thick. And the tools I'm going to be using is a large flat gouge. So this is a 1 inch wide number 5 flat gouge. I'm going to be using number 7mm, number 11. I've got a 4mm, number 12, which is a V tool. I've got a 1/4 inch number 9, or a 5mm or 6mm number 9. And I've also got a 3mm number 11, which might feel like there's quite a lot of tools there for what we're doing, and obviously a knife. But what I was finding was some of these just are helpful for some of the deeper areas in the face, like the eye sockets, where you can't really get the deeper number 11 in. It's easier to use something like a number 9 to clean the marks out. So they're the tools I used. And then, of course, a knife. And the knife I'm going to use today is a deep hollow talon blade knife. The other ones I carved them with pretty much anything. My Helvee's a flex cut, but this particular knife has a very thin blade and is very pointed. And I just, all I've done is round the back of the blade off slightly, because on the talons from DHK, they've got a slight angle on them. So I just sanded the back of the knife blade to round it off. But it's really good because it's so thin, you can roll the blade. So I'm not using any up sweeps. I'm using a straight blade to get curves. But that's because the blade is really thin. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, got my carving glove on. So first thing I'm going to do is get my blank, and I'm going to draw a turn it on its side and divide it into 3. So I'm just going to do it by eye. I'm not going to use anything to measure it. I'm just going to eyeball it. Then I'm going to turn the blank around the other side. And then I'm going to turn it back to the front, and I'm going to draw a line straight down the center of the face. Hopefully you guys can see the pencil lines. Okay, and then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove the material from this side of the face, and I'm going to go from the center line right away back to removing the first 2 lines here, these first thirds, and leave the last one intact, and that's going to be the ear. And the aim of this is to create a wedge, exactly like when you make a Santa on a corner and you have the nose out furthest. I'm trying to make a wedge. So I could use a knife, and I could. The good thing about the I find with this blade is, even though it's skinny, it does remove quite a bit of material because the blade's quite thick. So I just keep moving it around. And you can see I'm starting to take that corner off now. So I'm starting to work towards the center. And this is where this large flat gouge comes in. And I think this is something that I've picked up from being in the Czech Republic with some carvers, is I like to hold the chisel. See if I can zoom up a bit. So I like to hold the chisel so that I can carve towards myself. So I hold the object in my hand like this, and then I can lever it towards myself and remove quite large chunks, because I like to use some larger tools to get rid of the material as quick as possible, because this is the boring bit of making a face. Just get the shape to begin, the roughing out. Is it boring, or is it just one of those things you have to do to get there? Turn the object round. I don't know, I'm talking to myself. Okay, so I'm going to carry on going with my knife. And I want to keep working towards the center line and leaving about an 3 millimeters of the flat, just the underside of the center line flat. So there's a bit of material left in the middle, which is going to give us our nose. We're calling it a nose, but he doesn't really have a nose. That's one of the things I removed from the original Frankenstein, because it was taking up too much time for me to get it done. So at this point, I'm pretty much done on this side. And if I turn it up to the camera, you can see the difference between this side and this side, where this side's still very blocky. This side, I've removed it and slanted it towards the center of the face. So that's what you're aiming to do. But I'm not going to sit there and make you guys watch me do the other half. So due to the magic of doing it one beforehand and Blue Peter style, there's one I did earlier. And I've slanted this side of the face, this side of the face. You can see it's in a wedge shape now. And I turn it back up and I've same from the top. So the ears are now right back here. And the nose is more proud on the face. Okay? Or where the nose would be is more proud, the center line. So the next thing I'm going to do now is start to work out some of the features, because really this is just blanking, making the blank, just blocking out the blank. So we've got to start to turn this into something that resembles Frankenstein's monster. So really we can do anything we want with it because it's Frankenstein's monster and it could be made out of anything. So the first thing we're going to do once we've done this is we're going to mark the bottom of the nose and the brow line. So what I'm going to do is look at where the bottom of the ear is here and then come up a third. So if this was divided in three, I come up a third and run it across, and this is where I like to put the nose. So along there. And then I like to go to the top of the ears and just slightly above the ear line. I like to put a line there, which is going to be where my brow ridge is going to be. Okay. And I'm going to go to a number 11. And the one I'm going to use is going to be a 7, quite a deep gouge. Yeah, deep gouge number 11. And I like this because it just, same again, gets the material off quickly. So I'm going to use this now and I'm going to cut in the bottom of the nose and then I'm going to carve in the brow line or the brow ridge. So I'm literally just going to come across here. And then that gives me a notch there for the bottom of the nose. And I'm going to go to the brow line. And I'm not going to go straight. I'm going to go slightly curved with it. So I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to work my way out towards the ears and then turn it around. Start from the middle and work out towards the ears. And I end up with this line here. And I know that this line is higher than this one. So I'm going to go back over the first one and try and straighten it up slightly. But it's a monster. So once again, it doesn't really matter if one is higher than the other because this, which is in the design. Okay, and I'm going to turn it to the side and start to get the profile. Try to establish a profile because I can see the ears are back here. This is now my nose, but because the material is quite flat, it's difficult to add depth. So we've got to try and envisage that this is the kind of highest point off the face, which is the nose. This is then going to be the top of the head, the brow, and then this is going to be the bottom of the mouth mound and the chin. So we'll remove some of this material later to bring the nose out later. Okay, so I'm going to go deeper in here now with this number 11. And I tend to do this because I really like to set the eyes as deep into the face as I can on a monster, just to give it some extra depth. And plus Frankenstein's renowned for having that really heavy brow across here. So I like to kind of emphasize that. So I've gone through now and I've marked the bottom of the nose. I've carved in with the number 7, the number 7 into the eye channel. And then the next thing I'm going to do now is try to establish the nose a bit more by removing the material from either side. So on the Frankenstein that I'm doing with you guys, he doesn't really have a nose as such. It's almost like the nostrils are missing. It's a little bit zombie style in some respects, which is essentially just like a heart shape or an upside down V. So it's just to resemble maybe like the skeletal nose that has lost any of the cartilage is left and it's lost any of the material from around it, because we're not trying to achieve a nose like this with the nostrils. So I'm just going to literally draw a triangle, and I'm really not worried whether this triangle is nice and accurate. I've actually purposely drawn it off center just to give it a bit more interest. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that same number 7 that I was using, that deeper, the same number 11, 7mm number 11. I'm just going to go up the side of the nose and into the eye channel. And the same on the other side. And what you want to try and do is not slip like I just did a little bit and hit the top of the brow there, because you want to leave as much material here so you can get that monster style brow. So the next thing I'm going to do is, my nose is now in here, or blocked out in here, and you can turn to the side and see it a little bit more. And then this has gone back. We're going to just open the eyes up while we got the same number 11 in my hand. So I'm just going to go in here from in the center of the eye. So sorry, in the deepest part of the eye, the side of the nose here, and then just go out and just turn it slightly, just to open up these pockets a little bit more, to start to establish the eye socket. But we're not establishing the eye socket right now. We're just giving some inclination of it being there. We're not trying to carve the eyes yet. So the one thing that I find you need to be careful with the number 11, is brilliant because it gets a nice deep groove in there, but you've got to be careful of the wings catching on the top corner and then ripping off the brow. So if you prefer to use a number 9, use something like a number 9 instead. Okay, so we've come up the side of the nose now. We've opened up the eyes a little bit. So the next thing we're going to do now is jump down the face. Excuse me. Jump down the face and get rid of some of this material underneath the nose. And this is where this large flat, this is a OCC 1-inch number 5. And I've used loads of other number 5s. I just find this is quite comfortable. So hence the color on the handle, it gets a lot of abuse. So I like to use this one. And the reason I like to use this one is I like the actual curve on it, because it gives me the perfect curve underneath the nose there. So what we're aiming to do is remove some of this material, but not remove anything from here, which would essentially be where the chin is. So I'm going to take this 1-inch and I'm going to just basically come straight across, but in a curved motion. So as I come across, I'm curving over. I'm not coming straight. You could technically go straight and then chip off at each angle, but for the purpose of this one, I'm just going to go over in a sweeping curve. So I'm going to come over like this. And try not to catch the edge of the tool on the bottom of the nose. So you can see now that I've started to get a curve in there, and that's because that's the curve of the actual gouge fitting in there. And I'm going to go a bit more. Right away to the side of the face. And then turn the chisel around, the same on this side. Okay, so I've started to go in here. I still have material on the chin. I still have material on the nose, starting to round underneath here. So I'm just going to do a tiny bit more. And you could use a knife and go in and with an upsweep and do a scoop cut in there, or you could go in with a knife and do a curved cut like this. But I find the chisel is a great size to get rid of exactly the amount of material I need there. Okay, so I've got underneath there now, and I've started to round under the nose. The nose is now coming out, the mouth is going back, the chin is sticking out, because on all of these guys, their chins stick out quite far, and so on. And now I've done this part now, I'm going to draw on the cheeks and try to establish the top of the cheekbone, and then do those really deep set eyes. So I've rounded underneath here, I've got my triangle here, and I'm going to put my cheekbones in. So I go back to these 3 points that I drew on the side of the face. Let me just grab a new pencil. Okay, so I did these 3 marks earlier regarding where I placed the nose and so on by dividing the ears in 3. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to up to the second one, and just between those 2 points there, I'm going to draw top of a curve, and then I'm going to come out and draw an oval. And that oval is just really, really rough. It's just supposed to represent the cheekbones. And same again, it doesn't matter if one is higher than the other. And then essentially coming off that curve, you come down and join it into the edge of the face. And so it comes up and goes around there. And that is basically sketching in the cheeks. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the same number 11 I'm using, this 7, 11, and I'm going to go from in here in the eye socket and out, and I'm going to follow the line around and come down to the side of the face. So I'm going to go in here and follow around and down. I'll go over it again. You can see now I've come round and I've gone down and I've got a shadow casting in, and I'll do the same on the other side. Come in here around the cheek and down. And now I've got the other side, and they are slightly different, but same again, I'm not worried about that. Okay, so yeah, gone nice and around there, and now I'm starting to get the cheek. The ear is going back, so I still want to leave this material now because it gives me that bony kind of emaciated kind of skeletal cheek, and then the ears are going to go back. The nose is in there, and the next thing I'm going to do is I've got a little area here on both sides that I haven't done anything with yet. So I'm going to take that same number 11, and I'm going to come off up the top of the cheek and just outline a seam where the ear touches the side of the head in there, and the same on the other side. And now you can see that what that's done is it's made the ears go into the side of the face, and then this has accentuated that brow by me coming in at a slight angle, like on the example. Okay, so we're starting to get some things going now. We've got the cheekbones there. We've got the sides of the face there. So the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to start to deepen the eye sockets and the nose bridge with some smaller gouges to try and clean. This is just mapping out shapes. Now we're trying to get some depth. So I'm going to take that number 11 that I was using, and I'm going to just put that to one side for a minute, and I'm going to move to a number 5, and I'm going to use a number 5 and go into the eye sockets and out towards the side of the face. So starting on the inside of the eye socket here in the deepest part of the eye, I'm going to follow the curve of my brow around and out and stop when I hit the ear. I'll do that a couple of times. And I'm not worried about the fact that I've got no eyes in it at the moment. I'm adding the hollows in the face, the eye sockets first, because the eyes are quite cartoony. So I don't need to worry about leaving lots of material for them. So I've deepened this one more, and I'm going into the other one. I'm going to go above the cheek on this side and into the eye socket, like so. I've got a big tab of wood left there. I'm going to do the same on the other side, into the eye socket. I've got a big tab of wood left on there. I'm going to take the gouge and I'm going to hold the gouge like this and push down. And out comes the tab of wood. Same on this side. And out comes the tab of wood. So now I've started to, now you can see that the cheekbone is coming out. The eye socket is going in, and we've got the brow here. We've got the top of the nose here. And if I was carving this as a normal human nose, I'd want to get rid of this high spot here and angle it down for the nose bridge. But on the nose I've designed, I want to get rid of the opposite side. So I want to leave this the high point, and I want to get rid of the bit underneath here. And I'll do that. Won't do it right now. I'll do it in a bit. I'll stay in the eyes while I'm up here. So I've gone round. I've started to deepen the eye sockets. I'm using this little number 9, 5mm number 9, just to kind of work around it. And you can see that I've got a high area of material inside the eyes now. So even though the sockets are appearing, there is kind of like an eyeball in there somewhere. It's just very, very, very shallow. So we want to try and make that pop a bit more and bring it out. So now I'm going to jump from this number 9 that I was using to back to a number 11, but it's going to be a really small number 11, a number 3, a 3mm number 11. And I'm just going to repeat the process. So I'm going to go back into the eye socket, and I'm going to go underneath the brow. And as I'm going in now, I'm actually putting the tool in to undercut the eyebrow. Sorry, the brow. I want to undercut underneath it so that I can start adding some depth. So there's a slight overhang on the brow to give it that really stern monster kind of look. So I'm just going to come around and same again, go over a couple of times, turn the carving round. You can see straight away, it just, if the light will catch it, well, it's not showing great, but yeah, this is getting much dark, more shadow underneath here and here now. So I'm going to just follow around there on the top of the cheek with this little number 11, this 1/8 or 3mm number 11, go right away in front of the ear and down across the top of the cheek. So we're leaving that there. I'm going to do the same on this side, come down, and if it catches on the nose, which is quite common, go in from the other angle instead and work into the eye rather than trying to maneuver over the nose. Try not to dig too much when you get into the inside corner of the eye, because that's the common area that people can end up digging in there. And then I'm going to come back around here, back around the cheekbone and down the side of the head. Oops, off screen. So now I've basically done the same thing, but I've just gone back over it with a number 3. And same again, you turn it to the side, you can see the depth, the nose, the cheek is further back, the chin is sticking out, the mouth mound is rounded. Then you've got that nice flat head that Frankenstein's well known for. And then his ears angling back. So really, we've mapped out the main areas of the face, or we blocked out the main areas of the face. So the only other thing we've got to do now is start to define some of the features. Okay, so we're gonna go down to the bottom bit here, and before we start putting in the mouth and what have you, I've still got quite a few saw marks and saw lines all the way around here. So I'm just gonna take my knife, and at this point, which is why I like using this thin knife, is I'm gonna just start to roll down on the carving and start to take out some of the saw marks and give it a bit more shape at the same time. So I've just gone down the side of the head and give it a bit more of a curve, got rid of my saw marks, but now I have a flat corner. You just see the light catching it. So I want to get rid of that corner. So I'm going to come back and forth, but I'm not going to take too much off the brow. And then this top corner here is sharp, so I'm going to take that off. I'm going to take the corners off the top of the head because I don't want him to look too robotic and square. I want him to have a little bit of a rounded shape, even though the whole flathead thing is a bit robotic, I suppose. But same again, take some of this material off here And I don't mind if it splits and breaks a little bit, because I don't want to make every single one of the Frankenstein heads I make the same. So same again, I've cleaned that out. I've got rid of the corners there. I've got all my saw marks here. So I'm going to start taking off saw marks on the top of here. Okay, so it's got quite some large flat sections where the knife's removed fairly large chips. So what I tend to do afterwards is go around and get rid of some of those, because I like things to be fairly smooth across here. But you could leave them in. You don't need your center line on the top of the head now. That's not helping us, so that may as well go. Go down to the sides now. We'll look at the bottom part down here now. So we're going to do the same here. We're going to go to the side of the cheeks, and we're going to start getting rid of across the jawline here, sorry. We're going to go down to the jawline, and we're going to start getting rid of some of these bandsaw marks left from cutting the blank out. Get to the chin here. The chin's very square at the moment. You can see it's very sharp and square there. So I want to knock that off, the corner off that. But I don't need to go crazy with it. So I've just taken it off a little bit, and then I'm going to carry on working my way around, moving the blank to work with the grain. Take off that corner there. And now I've essentially rounded off the top of the head, got rid of all the corners, done the same with the bottom of the jaw, but I've still got that profile. I know I keep going on about it, but I want to keep going back all the time, especially working with so flat material, to make sure that I don't remove anything that gives us some definition and some kind of shape and form to it. Okay, so we've done that now. We've taken off the corners, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at sorting out the nose. So, or the lack of nose, shall we say. So we've still got this flat, we've still got this ridge here at the bottom of the nose, which is where the gouge came in earlier and removed the mouth mound. So I'm going to take that same large flat gouge, just because I like using it, and I'm going to come straight across the nose, but I'm going to tilt the gouge so that the top of the gouge doesn't remove the top of the nose. So what I'm trying to get at is when it comes across, I don't think I can get it in camera, unfortunately, but what I'm trying to do is scoop away the bottom bit here, leaving that proud. So we evidently end up with a nose like this, where it's further out at the top and slopes into the mouth. So that's why I like to use this. It's got a nice curve on it, so I can come across there. And that is essentially the nose done. So now the nose is proud at the top, blends into the face, and is flat here. And I've still got the ridges at the side here, the cheekbones, the eye socket, the mouth mound at the bottom there. Okay, great. So next thing we're going to do is start to put in some features. So I'm just going to refer back to my little notes by the side of me to make sure I don't forget anything, as I've carved this a few times. So next thing we're going to do now is put the nostrils in, sorry. So by here for the essentially where the nostrils would be, which essentially is just a hole, really, or holes, because this is, like I say, a lack of nose. I'm going to put an upside down V, and I've done a curved V, and I've done one side of the V, upside down V, longer than the other. Same again, just to give it some interest. You could do it straight, but I just like to add the curve. It helps with the curve of the nose. And I'm going to use a little 4mm V tool. And I'm just going to go over that line. And the same on the other side. and work out from the deepest part of the nose and down and out. So it's the deepest point in the center there. Hopefully you guys can see it there. And what I'm going to do now is take my knife and just go over that and deepen it. You could just use a knife rather than the V-gouge, but I like to use the V-tool. I like to use the V-tool first because it gives me a point to then go in and carve into. And just deepen that. And then now I've got a deeper point in the nose there. That's better, you can see the shadow there. Okay, so we're going to now move down the face and we're going to look at the mouth. And really, when I'm doing all the faces on these, I'm just looking at shapes on whatnot. So when I come to do the mouth, I'm essentially just using a very, very curvy W shape. So what I do is I go to the bottom of the cheek here where I've got the line in, and I just make a curved line there. And I go across and do the same on the other side, a curved line there. And then I just draw a wiggly line on there. But the wiggly line I tend to do is kind of, like I said, like a kind of wavy W shape. And I make it lower in one corner than the other. So I kind of come down like this, and then I go up in the middle and then off to the side. If I don't like it, I redraw it and so on. But that's okay, I don't mind that. I'll rub off that line there. So there's the line there, okay? Use the same V tool again, and I'm just going to carve in a little line at the top there, carve in a little line at the bottom there, and then go to the middle, and then come round, and leave the little roll or tab there. Take my knife and just pop him out. Go to the middle again, come round. And leave a little tab of wood in there. Same again, get my knife tip. Knock it out. So I've now got mouth established in there, or mouth line, and I'll go over that with a knife later. I could do it now, but I don't know what I'm going to be like for time when I get to the rest of the bits on this. So I'm just going to leave it with the V tool for now. But what I want to do before I go any further is make sure I don't forget to put the lip in, because I do think that the lip gives it that drawl, kind of uneasy kind of bit of character in it. So I'm going to go underneath it and just follow the same curve that I've put in, but rather than going the full length of the lip, I'm going to do just a little bit. So I've just come around the corner, up over where the chin is, and down the other side. So it's essentially like an S, or just half of that. And that's what I'm going to use to give it some kind of definition of the lip. And I'm going to go back in again with my small number 4 V tool and pop out that little curl. And you can see I've got that kind of drawly lip in there now, and the nose and so on. So as we've got my knife in my hand and it's in front of me, and I think we're doing all right for time so far. I'm looking for a thumbs up from Blake if everything's going good.
Yeah, you're good, Rich. Let's go.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to follow around the mouth. Thanks, Blake. I'm going to follow around the mouth and just deepen that with the tip of my knife. And I tend to do this in halves or in bits. I don't try and do the whole curve all the way around. I also tend to, when I deepen things like this, hold my knife like a pencil, and I use my little finger as an anchor point on the carving, and then I do it in small sections. So I tilt my knife and the carving at the same time, and then it leaves me with a darker line. And I do that. I don't know, I just find putting my little pinky finger on there just gives me an anchor point, so I don't slide off and end up slicing myself. which no one wants to do really. So you can see that half of the mouth there's had knife work done into, this half hasn't, so you can see the difference in the shadow straight away. There's much darker there than there. So we'll do the same on the other side now. Come up to there. Get my denture brush. And then that's that. Then I'm going to go back up to the underside of the cheeks. And right now, these pencil lines are no longer needed. So I'm just going to just gently remove the pencil line because it makes my job of seeing where I've carved much easier. So I'm just going to just lightly carve off those cheeks. And now you can see where the top of the mouth is. It's very cartoony. It's a little curved line. So I'm just going to go into there and deepen that. And the same on the other side. And there's your lip and your mouth and your cheeks, and he's looking pretty happy. He's got that weird looking nose. It's quite flat on the top of the nose right now. So while I got the knife in my hand, I'm going to just take off one side of the nose and slant it towards the other side a little bit more. And the reason I'm doing that is I want this asymmetric kind of face, so the nose runs in that direction. Okay, so we're starting now to work our way back up. We've got the mouth mound in, we've done the nostrils, we've got the lip and with the mouth in. So now we're going to move up to the eyes. And I'm just going to check at this point whether I'm happy how deep the eyes actually are. So at this point, my eyes don't feel as deep as they've been on some of the other ones I've carved. So I'm going to go back a step and I'm going to get that number 5 again. Sorry, number 9 again. And I'm just going to deepen it a little bit on the top of the cheek before I put the eyes in, and then use that number 11 again. I've made one eye really deep and I've made the other eye not so deep. So I'm trying to just level it out a bit. Number 3. Back up and deepen those eyes. And remember that the point there and the point there is the deepest point of the eyes, even if you're doing a flat carving like this. Oh. So we're ready now essentially to put the eyes in. And really the eyes are super easy on this because they're already established. The shape is already there. All we need to do is just put the edge of the eye in on the outside edge of both sides and then round everything. So I'm going to use my pencil and I'm basically going to draw in here and follow it round and then come back around, and that's my eye shape. And the same on the other side. But I'm purposely now doing it so the one eye is larger than the other because I like him to look a bit weird and wonderful. So he's got one eye lower than the other, one eye larger than the other, and that's going to be where my eyes are going to go. Same again, you can check they're quite deep back into the head there for the thickness of the material. So I'm going to take that same number 11 and I'm going to use that tiny 1/8 number 11, and I'm going to go around that pencil line I've drawn now. So I'm going to start on the outside and I'm going to go up to the brow and then turn the object round and follow it round. And as it comes around, stop there and then go into here a little bit and keep working around it, moving the wood carving round. Because sometimes you'll find that as you're going around, you'll snap out any material that's in there because it'll catch on the wings. I used to use a V tool for this, a small V tool, And then I found the V tool would rip it out more. So I like to use this little number 11 instead. And one eye always works better than the other one. So hopefully this is the one that is not the good one, because it's tearing. But you can see I've started to round it, and I've got, hopefully you can see it, it's starting to create a ball shape. So while I've got the tool in my hand, I'll do the other side. I tend to roll the tool as I'm going in to try not to catch the wings of it, the sides of the tool. Sometimes it can't be helped, so you just change up where you're carving. Right, that was the good eye. So that's better. I've gone all the way around that one. You can see I've got this nice shape in there. So now I just need to go around it with a knife. And you can use a detail knife, you know, pick up a small detail knife if you're inclined to help you do it. But the one thing I like about the talons, the talon knives, the nice thin ones, the HK ones, is they've got a nice fine point on them. I'll do it with my Helvy, but I don't want to snap, you know, break my Helvies or anything. And they're thin. The Helvies I have got slightly thinner steel than this one. So I just don't know. I just find this works good. So I'm going to go back into the same channel and take out that wedge. Back around the eye here. Then change my hand again to that pencil grip. And all I'm doing is basically running a cut line in the channel that the gouge is left. Be careful on the inside corner there. Like I say, that's the deepest point, and you can get your knife tip caught in there. And then you'll be digging and you'll have loads of little fluffies, loads of little bits hanging on you don't want. And I've gone over it and the knife has lined it. And I'm going to use the same knife and try and round the eyeball a bit. And when I was carving one of these earlier today, I discovered that if I use my small V tool, I can use it like a push tool and lay it on its side and just use one of the wings to help me round the eye off, because it's quite difficult to get in around everything else when you're making the face quite deep. The eye socket quite deep around this, and you catch other bits and then you've got to recarve them. So I turn my V tool onto its side, and I just use the wings of the V tool, just one side, save getting another chisel out the box or buying another chisel. Just use the tool for that as well, and just go around and just get rid of any of the bits you can't quite get in with a knife. So just to do close up, I'm laying it on its side like that and going across, but trying not to catch the underside. I'm just trying to use the flat areas. So that's one eye done. Now we'll go across to the other one. Back to that pencil grip where I'm using my little finger as an anchor point. I've gone all the way around now, and I should be the same depth as the other side. You can see I've got some bits holding on in there, which I need to get rid of. And then now I can start rounding off the eye. So I'm okay here because the knife's not catching on anything. But when I come around this side, I'm going to catch the nose and whatnot. So this is where the wings of that V-tool work quite well.
Rich, you're right now at 1 hour, so you still have plenty of time to go ahead and finish that out.
Oh, cool. Brilliant. Sorry, I'm huffing and puffing here, trying to get rid of these hanging on chips. So yeah, you can take your time doing it to make sure they're gone. Get your shoe brush out, or your old denture brush, or your flatmate's toothbrush you don't like, and just make sure they don't know, and so on. Okay. So yeah, there you've got your eyes in now, you've got your nose in, the mouth is in, the ears are in, and we're working our way up the face, and we can put the eyelids in now. So same, what I like to do with the eyes is I like to do one open eye, one closed, slightly closed eye, just because it makes them look a bit weird and wonderful. So I'm going to do the open eye, and I'm literally just going to do a line straight across about a third of the eye, leaving 2/3 open, curved one, and then I'm going to do the opposite on the other eye. So I'm going to cover the line further down, so there's only a third of the eye open, and then I'm going to use the tip of my knife and just do a V cut and line across it. Just be careful here, because you can be too forceful and cut the eyelid off, and then you've got to reshape the entire eyeball. So there's one eyelid. I'm going to the other one now. Same again, you get these little tabs, and if they come out, fab. There you go. So yeah, so basically you now have your one eye. Draw on some pupils so he comes alive. One there. There you go. Starting to come alive a bit now. So now we've just got to basically address the rest of the face, because we've got the interesting bits that we all love doing, and now it's the challenge of trying to do the curved cut on an ear, and then what wonderful things we're going to do with the stitching and the clamps and the hair and all that kind of stuff. So really that's the bulk of the face done. So what I do now is I'm going to do the ears, and I'm going to jump back to that. I'm going to do the ears and the top of the head. So I'm going to jump back to that wide flat number 5 again, and I'm going to use that number 5, and I'm going to push it straight across the ear and stop when it hits the side of the face. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side, because what I'm trying to create is a bit of shape and kind of internal curve to the ear, because he's quite blocky and square at the moment. So I'm just going to literally come across like this, and I wiggle the tool so I don't press too hard, and out comes a chip, and I'm going to do it again. And this time the chip's left in. So you can see that chip hanging on. And then I'm going to use my number, where's he gone? Number 11. And I'm going to follow up the shape, the side of the face, where I did do the cut originally, and up and around and over the ear. So now that chip's gone, and I turn it to the side, and you can see it's now got a curve to the ear. So I may as well do the other one while I'm at it. And there's the chip again. I'm up here, around and over the top of the ear. And because he's Frankenstein, I'm going to make one of them completely different shape to the other one. So I'm just going to come across this way now and hollow it in the opposite direction. taking that ear back. So you can see on that angle, goes back further here and down and curves out. And then on the other one, I'm going to turn it around to the opposite. I'm going to take the top back a bit more. And now the top's back there, the bottom's back there, just to make him a bit different. And then I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to just go around the edge of the ear, because I forgot to do this earlier when we were doing the top of the head. I'm just going to take away those saw marks. And there's only a couple of little bits left to do. So taking off the saw marks, I'm just going to round the ear slightly. Then when this, go back to this one, maybe not round it as much, or purposely put some flats in it. So it looks like he's got two different ears. There you go, I've made that one a bit more kind of squarer and that one a bit more rounded. Okay, and now I'm going to give it some shape. So the easiest thing I find to try and give it some internal structure, because the ears are quite difficult shaped-wise really to carve, is I just use an S. So same thing, I tend to use shapes and letters quite often. I said, look, ovals, V's, W's, a wiggly S shape there. So we're going to go back to an S shape in the ear. And we're going to start on that bottom third. So if you imagine we go those three lines again, and that bottom third, then I'm going to come up and around and do a curve like so. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. And I don't tend to draw these on when I do them. And you can see one ear has got much bigger S shaping than the other one. So I'm going to take my little V tool, number 4 V tool, and I'm going to do this in sections. So I'm going to come around the top curve, stop, go into the bottom of the curve, stop, and then join the two up and stop, and then break the chip bits out, and there's my S shape. And you can do that with a tip of your knife. You can go in and then you can do the same, score round, and then go in and deepen it to add more shadow. But I think it gives you the basic understanding that the grain changes direction multiple times in a curve like that. So you need to make sure you go in, stop, change angle, and so on. I won't do the other ear because it's pretty much the same as this ear. So I won't do that one. But what I will do is move up to the top of the head now. So I'm going to go back to that flat gouge that we spoke about earlier, that large 1 inch number 5. And I'm now going to do the same as I did on the bottom here, where I came across for the mouth. I'm going to do it across the top of the head, but I'm going to leave the brow proud. So come across. And you can really go to town up here if you really want to really bring the brow ridge right out, which is what Frankenstein's known for. I'm right way around the edge. Whoop, off camera, apologies. And now you can see, turning this way around, you can see we've got this curve here. Turning on the side is further out there, and it's further out at the top, and it's deeper in the middle there. And the reason I do it like this is this gives me material to do the hair. This gives me my brow. And I'll go back over it and deepen it again, how I see fit. And that's essentially that at the top of the head. And then now we've got to decide what we're going to do with whether we're going to split his brow. So on this guy, I've got a shadow in there. I've just lightly split it, but I've still left quite a lot of depth. But I've just put a slight hollow there. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. Slight hollow in the middle there. But on this guy, I did earlier, I didn't. I left it completely flat all the way along. Okay, so it's up to you what you do. You could take that number 7, for example, that number 11 you had, or that number 9 you had. I'm gonna take that number 11, that big number 11, and I'm gonna just do a line straight away across here, like so, and that gives me now the brush standing out even more, and then a line there, and I'm gonna do the same above it because I just decided to do this one a bit different. And then I've got a line there. So I'm starting to add some wrinkles into it. And this is where you could, if you wanted to, you could put a scar across the top of Frankenstein's head. Or you could just leave a wrinkle in there. There's one on this guy. Sorry, clear my space. There's a wrinkle on this guy, as you can see. So we've got one on him and one on him. And then if you want to do other features, it's up to you. Then you can do things like clips that you can see there's like a staple or a clip here on the top there, and then on the other guy I did him on the clips on the top of his head there. But I only put one in because they're so small, these faces. If you start adding more things into it, I think you'll just get a bit overwhelming with all the metal components in it. And at the end of the day, this is supposed to be a small badge that you wear. So what I find is that the little silver clips on it just add a little bit more interest. But I don't want to put too many of them on there. I did play around with the idea earlier of doing a Frankenstein, and then someone said, oh, well, what about the bolts the Frankie has through his neck or his head, or the electrodes that they attach to? So I thought, right, well, we can still use the same template that we've been carving now, but just add something to it. So I drilled a little 1/4-inch hole in the side, and I used a little wooden dowel, and made a little hexagon shape or little bolt shape. And you can just, when you finish this and done all the detail on it, you can then drill the holes and pop them in. And because the grain is running with the dowel, it's not going to snap off. If it was part of the template, you'd have short grain there and it just bust off, so it wouldn't be any good. So, and of course you could actually stick a real bolt in it, or a wood screw or something as well. So that's another option. And then the last thing is the hair. So all I literally do for the hair, guys, is just draw on a series of curved V's. And I'll just do one side. I'll do a series of curved V's all the way across. I might do a clip. A clip on the top of his head there, or a staple or whatever. And outline that on my V. Take my V tool. Apologies, off camera. You can see I've literally just gone around it. So it's there, and then I'll remove some material from around it with the tip of my knife and carve up to it so that stands proud. Now that's proud. And then I'll do the hair up to the clip just for the purpose of this guy. And I just use the same V tool. I come in and do little cuts to outline the hair. And then I take my knife. Take my knife and just press the tip of the knife in there, in the deepest point of the V. Tip of the knife in the deepest point of the V there, and then cut underneath it and chip out a little V shape, or little chip has come out, and that'll give me some extra depth. So if any of you guys have ever done that triangular point where the nostril or the nose hits the fold in your face, there's that little triangular cut there. Dave Stetson always knows the correct terms. I don't. Yeah, basically that bit there, same again, chip. Out comes the chip, and then you have some added depth in there. And that's essentially how you carve him. And then you just go around and clean up any lines you need to clean up afterwards. And that's essentially your Frankenstein. And then on the back, what I tend to do is use a V tool and take a shallow V out, like so, and then just deepen it slightly with the tip of your knife, like that, and like that. So you end up with a wedge cut out the back, and that's where I place the metal pin that you attach it onto to turn it into a badge. And the reason I do it like this is I then fill this little area with 2-part epoxy glue and then push the pin on and wait for that 5-minute epoxy glue to cure. And then everything's flat on the back with the pin just risen, so it doesn't stand off the wearer's body too much. So yeah, so that's essentially how I carve him. And then, Blake, would you like me to talk about the painting process?
Yeah, I just unmuted there to tell you that I think that's one of the interesting parts of this carving was the shading and stuff that you have on there. So if you can go through that real quick.
Yeah, no problem at all. So basically, once I finish carving it, I clean the carving with some soapy water and an old toothbrush and just some dish soap. And I never used to do this with my carvings, but over the years I found that the cleaning process softened some of the sharp edges of the tool, which I personally like. So I clean it, and then I paint it with white linseed oil, and then I wait 10 minutes, wipe the white linseed oil off, and then I wait a whole day for the white linseed oil to properly establish itself into the wood. And then I use water-based acrylics like most of you guys, and this is the brand I use, the Crafters acrylic, the Deco Art Crafters acrylics, and they're just ones that I can get here in the UK. That are the Deco Art brand. They work really well for what I use them for. And then I'll tell you the colors I use in a second. So what I do is once I've white linseed oiled it, I then have the carving, and I paint into all of the deep parts of the face with a watered down burnt sienna, into all the deepest parts of the face. And I do go quite dark with it. So you can see the shadows are quite heavy in these areas, just using a fine brush. And the reason I do that is that when I then mix my paint up, I make my paint really thin, and I paint over the top of it, and the shadows show through the coats of paint I add on top. And it also allows me to then see if I like the shadow in that color or whether I need to exaggerate it or change the shadow. So on this guy, started off like this. I painted the raw sienna, what did I say it was? The raw sienna. Sorry, burnt sienna. Too many paints. Sorry, burnt sienna into the deep parts. I've actually got Americana brand one here. And I water it down so it's like very, very thin wash. And I paint into all the shadows to make the shadows darker. And then on this guy, I then paint the green to begin. And the green is a mixture of leaf green and goldenrod yellow. And I mix those two together because the goldenrod yellow is like a neon color. So it makes the paint really pop on this guy. I took inspiration for this guy from like hot rods and kind of that kind of rockabilly hot rod kind of bright pinstriping color palette and so on. So that's what I use for the green. And then once all the green is on where I want it, I don't paint the eyes. I only paint the green on the ears and the face, and I stop at the hair. I then wait for the green to dry, and then I paint a second layer of the same color on, very wet, watered down. And then touch, so it's still wet. And then I use a darker green and I go back into it with the darker green and emphasize some of the shadows. I don't want to go over all of the shadows because there's no point using the earlier color of the burnt sienna. You've just gone basically over everything that you've used that on to originally start with. So I tend to just leave bits of it showing through and only cherry pick small areas with the dark green. And then once that's dried, I then take a very watered down yellow and I then pick up highlights like the edges of the ears, the top of the nose, around the edge of the mouth. And I use the yellow on top of the colors to then make so you're adding highlights, a main color, a shadow, and a highlight. And then I do the rest of the painting then. So I don't actually shadow or highlight the brows. The lids, sorry. The lids are just done with a purple color called Tutti Frutti. And then on this guy, his eyes are painted with the goldenrod yellow, which gives you the eye color there. And then a couple of different blues for the pupils and so on. And on this guy, it's just done with a bit of antique white. And then I use a dark gray with a mixture of a black for the hair. So I use storm cloud gray, and then a black with that. And then just a bit of silver. I always, whenever I do silver on a carving, I always paint black or gray underneath it. If I do gold on a carving, I always paint brown underneath it because it's just some of the darker colors that you associate those metals with as their shadows. And then essentially that's the carving done. I wait a couple of days and then I spray it with a coat of matte lacquer, acrylic lacquer, and then it'll last then out in the weather. If you've got a pin to a jacket and it rains or drops off and puddle or gets grubby, then you can just wipe it down afterwards with a damp cloth. And that's essentially how I carve and paint one of these guys. So yeah, if you guys have had a good time and you like this kind of stuff and you're interested in doing any of these kind of flat 1-inch carvings, I'm currently working with Fox Chapel, and the guys are Woodcarving Illustrated. And keep your eyes peeled because I should hopefully be having something coming out, a booklet coming out next year, where it focuses on wearable badges and brooches and so on, called Wearable Whittles. And thank you for joining me today. Any questions?
All right, Rich. We'll open the floor up. There wasn't a whole lot of talking because I think a lot of people were focused on what you were doing there. It's a great presentation. Anybody have any questions for Rich or anything you want to add?
One of the top 5 I've ever watched on here.
Thanks, Dave.
I would like to see him do a little bit of the cut on the cheeks, just how he rounds them in that.
Okay. So I'll do it on this guy. So you see you've still got the sharp edges left on the top here. I just use the top tiny edge of the knife and I literally just go round the cheeks and just take the edge off. On the actual carvings, they're very square. You can kind of see it's very flat and angular. And then underneath the cheeks, so this area here, I just do a roll cut. And as I'm rolling, I just should be wearing my glove. As I'm rolling, I just move the object round until I got a bit of extra depth in it. And then same again, go back up and take the smallest amount off the edges. This is where I'm going to end up cutting myself, I think. But there you go. Yeah, does that answer your question? Or...
Yes, and thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all. Anyone else?
All right, Rich. Well, we're going to go ahead and call the auction also at this point. Looks like the winning bidder is Bud Adams. Bud, if you'll stay on, we'll gather your information here in just a few minutes. Rich, fantastic demonstration. Just like Dave Stetson said, probably top 5 in my book as well. Quality of the carving, the planning of it, the lighting and stuff on the video is fantastic. So thanks for all your time that you put into doing this. And, you know, like I've told you before, you're welcome on here anytime. So I'd love to have you back at some point, maybe to help advertise whatever you have coming out next year. We'll try to arrange that so you can come back on with us.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Just want to remind you all again, Tom Wilkinson will be on next week. He does a lot of cottonwood bark carving, some very unique stuff. Look forward to having him. He's been on with us before. So if you're interested in seeing kind of what he does, go back and look for Tom Wilkinson. Again, all of our videos are out on YouTube, so you can go out and search International Association of Woodcarvers out there, find his stuff. But he'll be on next Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then again on the 14th, I'll be down at the Sevierville show in Sevierville, Tennessee. We'll talk a lot about what they've got going on down there and show some of their carvings and their competition there. So look forward to that. I just want to say thank you all again for joining us today. Again, we're going to try to meet every Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for everybody who bid on the auction pieces. Again, that's the Dwayne Gosnell knife, the carving from Rich. And Bud, if you'll stay on, we'll get your information. And thank you for joining the International Association of Woodcarvers. Thank you all.
Start. So whenever
And you're welcome to mess it up as many times as you want to, because he'll put bloopers at the end, which makes it funny.
All right. Okay.
we screw stuff
Great.
up all the time.
Yeah,
No.
this is the International Association of Screw Up. That's what we do.
If you don't believe it, stick around long enough. No.
Right. You should
All right,
see
Rich,
it behind
whenever
the
you're ready.
scenes. Man.
Okay,
This
cool.
is- we're just going with it.
Here we go. Okay. Hi, I'm Rich Embling, and
So yeah,
Perfect. First time.
and I
Spot
forgot
on.
what I'm saying.
who am I?
What? Where am I?
Yeah, what are we doing here anyway?
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good.
Take 2.
Yeah,
Okay.
Bam.
he's a pro.
Look at that little nod he gave at the end, man. I mean, come
Yes.
on.
Yeah,
Yes.
I like it.
You can have that. That's free.
Now, I was gonna say that may be on every one of our videos going forward. It's Great
I
squad.
have to.
Yep. There you go.
Let me stop this one.